Good evening, you're watching Primetime News and I'm Sandra Ferdinando.
And I'm Azra Hassan. Let's now take a look at the headlines for tonight. Death toll from the natural disasters reaches 194. 99 reported missing.
6 killed as Cyclone Mora hits Bangladesh. Many areas in Sri Lanka continue to experience heavy rains.
Landslide warning issued for 7 districts.
President Maithripala Sirisena orders the cancellation of all vehicle imports for ministers this year.
Who was Minister Ravi Karunanayake referring to when he said someone was harming the party? For details regarding the weather condition, let's now cross over to Ramesh Yugal who is joining us from the Weather Center here at Newsfirst.
Well, thank you, Sandro, and good evening to all our viewers tuned in. Now, as we know, Cyclone Mora, which is a cyclonic condition that developed in the Bay of Bengal, has made landfall. It made landfall in the country of Bangladesh, and it has also affected countries such as Myanmar. Let's take a look first at the latest satellite images coming in on this cyclonic condition. As you can see, the outer circle of this cyclonic condition is affecting Bangladesh, but the brunt of the attack is currently, this image was taken at 8:25 p.m. The brunt of the attack is being borne by Myanmar. So as you can see, the Met departments of these areas predict that the cyclone may weaken after it made landfall, but we are yet to see how this will play out. However, the cyclonic condition will not have a major impact on Sri Lanka, so that is good news. However, there are warnings in place for Sri Lanka as well. The cyclonic condition, as you can see, moving towards Myanmar, as I mentioned earlier, wind speeds of up to 70 or 80 kilometers per hour could be expected in the sea areas around the country. Let's take a closer look at which areas will be affected. According to the Met Department, the area from Puttalam to Kankasanture and Batiklo will have rough seas, and the area between Colombo, Galle and Hambantota will also have rough seas. So the naval and fishing communities are advised to remain vigilant by the Sri Lankan Met Department due to strong winds, even though Cyclone Mora has made landfall in countries such as Bangladesh and Myanmar. There are also reports of strong winds affecting the inland as well. Let's take a look at some of the reports that came in throughout the day today.
10 lampposts were damaged on the strong winds which were experienced in the Panipiti area at around 1 this morning. According to our correspondent, electricity supply has been disrupted in the area. Strong winds were experienced in the Ambalangoda, Kuligoda in the Galle district at around 10:30 last evening. Meanwhile, strong winds swept across the Battegama area.
Now, as you mentioned earlier, Cyclone Mora does not have a major impact on the country. However, the country did still face strong winds and thunder showers throughout the day today. Thunder showers in Colombo, Ratnapura, Kalutara, Galle, Matara, showers in Hambantota, and thunder showers in Nuwara. Now, this is of significance because when it starts to rain in the high areas, as the rains die down, these waters come down to the low-lying areas and it can cause flooding in other areas which are low-lying, not in the central hills. Let's also take a look at some weather forecast for the next couple of days. In the Colombo area, we have thunder showers for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All through the week, we have clear skies predicted for Monday, but Monday seems far distant off. So let's see how we get through this week. Let's also take a look at the rainfall and how it affected the country today.
2 sluice gates of the Polgola Reservoir was opened today. 137 cubic feet of water was released every minute. Professor Lalita Disanayake of the Geological Department of the University of Peradeniya warned that the Kalu, King, Kalani and several other rivers tend to flood and trend is growing, causing greater damage. The main cause of the flood is the improper use of lands by the public which block the natural flow of water, especially when building properties and disposing garbage.
Now, the rainfall being experienced in the country at present is because of the southwest monsoon conditions which we usually have every year. Let's take a look at how this weather is affecting the country. Now, we mentioned earlier where there were thunder showers and where there were showers. However, there is a stark difference between two regions in the country. As you can see, the southern and central part of the country is experiencing thunder showers. However, the northern part of the country is completely free. Sunny skies, 34 degrees Celsius in Jaffna, 33 degrees Celsius in Mullaitivu, and still people call this some sort of a drought. So, drought in the north and flooding in the southern part of the country. Stark difference in weather systems affecting Sri Lanka at present. Let's move on to another crucial information that came out. The National Building Research Organization, or the NBRO, has a landslide watch, and they have updated their landslide watch. Yesterday they released details of landslide warnings for the districts of Hambantota, Mathura, Galle, Ratnapura as well as Nuwara. This morning they released a new list which added the district of Galle into the mix. So the NBRO requests the general public living in these districts and identified landslide risk areas to remain vigilant about the weather conditions, especially if it's raining heavily, to remain vigilant about the weather conditions and possibility of landslides. So if there are officials in your area warning you to evacuate the area, do so, because you are at risk. So let's take a look at the exact areas which are at risk, which the NBRO has identified at present.
The NBRO watch issued this evening says there could be landslides, rock falls and cut slope failures in the Alapata, Palmadulla, Kuruwita, Ahaliyagoda, Kiriyalla, Imbulpe, Ayagama, Kahawatta, Kalawana, Kolanna and Nivithigala areas in the Ratnapura district. The landslide watch was also issued for the Bulatkohupitiya, Deraniyagala, Yatiyantota and the Hiyovita areas in the Galle district, and Baddagama, Yakalamulla, Neluwa, Thawalama, Niyagama and Nagoda areas in the Galle district. Residents from Bulat Sinhala, Agalawatta, Walallawita and Baduraliya areas in the Kalutara district have been requested to be vigilant. The warning also affects the Kotapola, Pasgoda, Pitabadara and Mullaitivu areas of the Mathura district and the Walasmulla and Katuwana areas of the Hambantota district. The NBRO requests people living in Amagambuwa Korale in the Nuwara district to be cautious. The Malmurahena Haldola mountain in the Nelluwa Divisional Secretariat is at risk of landslides. 10 families have been evacuated due to this situation.
කන්ද කියන ප්‍රදේශයේ අපේ ගමේ මේ අක්කර 15ක් 20ක් විතර තියෙන පැත්තේ කන්ද පුපුරන සද්දයක් ඇහුණා. දැන් මම වඩිච්ච ගිහේ ඒක නාය හිල්ලසට යට වෙලා තියෙනවා. මට කරගන්න කියන දෙයක් නෑ. මම පල්ලෙහා පන්සලේ ඉන්නේ. මුකුත් පොත්පත් ඇත්තේ නැහැ. ඉතින් දවස් 5ක් තිස්සිටින් ඇවිල්ලා ඉන්නවා. මොකට මේකේ ඇවිල්ලා මහා කන්ද නායක් ගිහිල්ලා. අපි දරුවෝ ටිකක් තරම් පල්ලෙහාට තියුවා. ඔක්කොම ගමේ කට්ටිය එකතු වෙලා අපි දැන් පවුල් 10ක් 15ක් විතර ඉන්නේ පන්සලේ තමයි දැන්ට. ලඩ වෙනකම් මේ පන්සලේ තාමත්
Newsfirst inspected the upper area of the Kiribatgala mountain in Nivithigala, which experienced a landslide. Many trees in the mountain range, which is also a reserve, have been felled. Several trees were also uprooted in the slopes of the mountain. 27 people died in the landslide that took place on the 26th, and the people from surrounding areas have been directed to safer locations. The Ayagama town in Ratnapura continues to be at risk. All roads leading to this town were blocked over the past few days, and our teams reached the town after a treacherous journey through roads adjacent to the Singharaja rainforest. Earth embankment collapses were reported from several locations on the main road which links Ahaliyagoda and the Hiyovita in Ratnapura. Kumurugamwa in the Deraniyagala Divisional Secretariat area, which suffered a severe landslide in 2007, is once again at risk. Dennis Estate in the Hiyovita is also facing a similar risk. 48 families from the area were evacuated in 2016 and they were moved into temporary tents. These people who left the tents as a result of the adverse weather are currently sheltered inside the tea factory of Dennis Estate.
Now, we focused our attention earlier on the forecast for the next few days. I want to show you the weather system as the southwest monsoon develops. This is the weather system that will be affecting Sri Lanka over the next few days. Moving in from southwesterly direction, it will pass the areas that have been most affected, the Kalutara, the Gaul, Matara and Ratnapura districts, and we also heard today that there was heavy showers in the central hills as well. So the southwest monsoon conditions that you see in this image is what will be causing the torrential rains over the next few days. Now, the death toll caused due to these adverse weather conditions keeps rising day by day. The latest figures stand at 194 fatalities and 94 people missing due to this extreme weather.
In its latest data issued this afternoon, the Disaster Management Centre said 15 districts in the country have been affected by the incessant rains. It adds that 112 people are reported wounded, while over 76,000 people are displaced. The displaced have been relocated to 383 safe locations. The Disaster Management Centre said over 575,000 people are affected by the adverse weather conditions. 91 homes have been destroyed, while 6,000 homes have been damaged. Today, our correspondents were able to reach Millania, Horana, which was unreachable due to heavy floods. Due to the prevailing flood situation, residents of Galpatha and Kuragala in Kalutara have taken shelter at a cemetery. Our correspondent says the flood situation in the Badigam area in Gaul is gradually reducing. Residents of Ginimalegama, Dodamgoda returned to their homes today. Water levels of the Dodamgoda, Agaliya and Udagama areas are also receding. Floodwaters in the Wakwala area in Gaul have also receded. Locals were seen cleaning up wells today. Our correspondent said the flood situation in the Nellua, Thavalama and Hindunuma areas have also ceased. Floodwaters in the Nagoda, Kethena, Tebuan areas in Kalutara are beginning to recede with the reduction of water levels of the Kaluganga. These were scenes from the Alapatha area in Ratnapura, which was severely affected by the floods. An amphibious troop carrier of the security forces was caught in the floodwaters during relief operations. Certain sections of the Dompe Samlel Road and the Dompe Malvana roads are still submerged. Residents of the Malvana and Kanukati areas in Dompe returned to their homes today.
Well, that's it from the Newsfirst Weather Center for tonight. It's back to Sandaru and Azra at the main desk.
Well, thank you, Ramesh, for that comprehensive weather update. The Sirasa, Shakti and TV1 Suvayatra got underway today to provide medical services to those affected by the floods and landslides. The program will center on the districts of Kalutara and Matara.
The team in the Matara district commenced the Suvayatra today at the Sri Nagarama Vihara in Unella, Godagama. Residents in the Matara district have been subject to many health hazards owing to the presence of flood water in the area. A number of doctors, nurses and pharmacists have joined hands with the Sirasa Shakti and TV1 Suvayatra.
සිරස TV සුවයාත්‍රාවිලා අතරම අපිටම කරේ ලොකු දෙයක් කවුරුත් ආවේ නැහැ බලන්න කරන්න. සිරසෙන් වතුර දාපු දවසේ ඉඳන් ඇවිල්ලා පුළුවන් තරම් උදව් කරනවා. ගොඩක් ලොකු පිනක් කරන්නේ.
සිරසෙන් ඇවිල්ලා මේ වගේ වෛද්‍ය සේවයක් කරන එක ගොඩක් හොඳයි කියලා. මේ සිරස මාධ්‍ය ජාලෙන් ඇවිල්ලා අපිට මේ අපේ ගමට ඇවිල්ලා මේ වගේ සත්කාරයක් වෙන කිසිම ආයතනයකින් කරන්නේ නැහැ. සිරස මාධ්‍ය ආයතනයෙන් විතරයි කරේ. මේ කරන කාර්යය ඉතාමත් උතුම් කාර්යයක්.
During the medical camp, the team in the Mathura district came across a pregnant mother who was in a serious condition and an elderly lady. Following initial treatment, steps were taken to hospitalize them. Then they were transported with the assistance of a Sri Lankan Navy boat. The Newsfirst team in the Kauthara district commenced the Sirasa Shakti and TV1 Suvayatra from Kalugam Moya. Officials from Sri Lankan Navy and the Indian Navy were present. The displaced persons residing in the Bolosgama Vidyalaya in Tebuvana were provided with medical treatment. Later, the Suvayatra team went in search of individuals in need of medical assistance in the Ramanagoda, Bolosgama, Tebuvana and Kalpitiyagoda areas.
ගොඩක් වැදගත් අවස්ථාවක්. මොකද කිසි කෙනෙකුට මේගොල්ලන්ට පිට වෙන්න බැරි වෙලාවක ඇවිල්ලා මෙහෙම අපිට මේ ගමනට සහභාගී වෙන්න ඉඩ සලස්වා දුන්න එකට සිරස ආයතනයට ගොඩක් ස්තුති වෙනවා මම ඉස්සෙල්ලාම. මේ ලොකු ඉදව්වක් බොහොම පින් අපිට කරන මේ උදව් වලට. සිරස ටීවී ආයතනයේ මේ වගේ දුෂ්කර ගම්මානයකට ඇවිල්ලි ඉවර වෙලා මේ වගේ මේ සේවා පියසක ප්‍රජාශාලාවක අවතැන් වෙලා ඉන්න මේ ජනතාවට මේ විදිය වෛද්‍ය සේවය ලබා දීම ගැන ඇත්තටම මම සතුටුදායක වෙනවා.
ඔබතුමන්ලා මේ අද මේ පැමිණීම අගය කරන්න බැරි අපිට වටිනාම දවසක්. ඒ මොකද ඔයගලන්ට අනන්ත වාරයක් පින් සිද්ධ වෙනවා මේ අද කරපු සේවයට.
Tomorrow, the Suvayatra operation is due to commence in the Ratnapura district.
President Maithripala Sirisena says a decision has been taken to halt the importation of new vehicles for ministries and state institutions this year. The President made this statement when the National Disaster Management Council convened today.
The meeting was attended by ministers, ministry secretaries, state officials and heads of security forces. A decision was taken at the meeting that the government will take measures to reconstruct 640 homes which are destroyed in the disaster. 5,329 houses which were damaged due to the adverse weather are to be repaired with the assistance of the Housing Development Authority, Ministry of Skills Development and Vocational Training and Defence units. The President had also instructed that the compensation paid for death caused by natural disasters to be increased to 100,000 rupees from this year and to look into the aid required by the families of the deceased victims.
A decision was taken to increase the 225 rupees paid for food per day to 300 rupees with immediate effect. All other health requirements are also being looked into. We are giving priority to the housing issue. The process of restoring power to most areas is also underway. It was also decided that new vehicles will not be imported this year. The institutions will have to use the vehicles they already have.
A decision has also been taken to grant those residing in flood-affected areas a 6-month grace period to pay areas in electricity bills.
A media briefing was held at the Disaster Management Centre today on the government's future course of action on the disaster situation.
Everyone did what they could, and we must appreciate that. The only shortcoming is that why we couldn't predict the situation. I do not know how to answer this question scientifically, but saying the response wasn't good enough is wrong. There was a special request from the Air Force today. Since the divisional secretariats have begun to issue cooked meals to the victims, we have limited the amount of cooked meals we transport to 5,000 packs. This requirement will be met by the military, so please do not bring cooked food to Ratmalana. At the cabinet meeting, it was decided to issue a sum of 2 billion rupees to owners of small-scale businesses which were destroyed in the floods to help them get back on their feet. For the first time in history, every citizen and every house in this country has been insured. A sum of 2.5 million rupees will be paid through this insurance. All illegal constructions will be removed to prevent disasters caused by landslides and floods. Alternative homes will be provided to those evicted from these areas.
අමාත්‍යතුමනි අර විශාලම චෝදනාව තමයි අපේ ප්‍රධාන අමාත්‍යතුමා මේ වෙනතුරු විදේශගත වෙලා ඉන්නවා කියන එක. ඇයි එහෙම උනේ?
The minister went overseas on an invitation that was extended a month ago to attend the United Nations Disaster Management Workshop. This was before the country started experiencing rains, and at the time we could not predict the current situation.
අපේ ජනාධිපතිතුමා මේ වෙනකොට හිටියේ ඕස්ට්‍රේලියාවේ. එතුමා වහාම ඇවිදින් අදාළ සියලුම කාර්යයන් වලට මැදිහත් වුණා. නමුත් 26 වෙනිදා මං හිතන්නේ ඔයා කියන සම්මන්ත්‍රණයේ අවසානයි. දැන් අද 30යි. මේ වුණතුරු දෙන්න අපහසුයි මොනවා හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක්ද?
මෙක්සිකෝ වගේ රටක සිට
It takes close to 30 hours to travel back to Sri Lanka from a country like Mexico, even if you fly directly. We remember how Gotabaya chartered special flights to America for his dogs. So if we set aside special expenses on flights to bring our Minister of Disaster Management back to the country, I think he will only sling more money at us. So if we want, we can charter special flights just to fulfill the requirement of journalists.
special charter flight
As the Deputy Minister and the Acting Minister, I have implemented every possible mechanism up to now.
Several countries have come forward to support Sri Lanka after tropical cyclone Mora left a train of destruction in many areas.
The third Indian Navy ship INS Jalashwa called at the Colombo harbour today to join with the Indian teams in Sri Lanka to support in the emergency efforts.
We are here to help you, and whatever requirement is there, we are here. I may add that this is primarily first the rescue operation and subsequently the relief operation starts. While both are integrated, but at this time our focus is to help out all the brothers and sisters who need to be rescued.
A Pakistani ship with emergency assistance arrived at the Colombo harbour today. The ship also brought teams of Pakistani search and rescue personnel as well as medical professionals.
Whenever it comes to Sri Lanka, there is a standing order that you don't need an approval. So immediately this ship, which was in the middle of the sea, close to the Maldivian waters, so it was directed that they should reach there and do whatever we can to assist in their rescue and relief operations. Whenever you need further assistance, my government and the people of Pakistan are always standing shoulder to shoulder with the people of Sri Lanka.
We appreciate all the assistance that have been given, and I look forward to reciprocating from Sri Lanka in any small way if Pakistan ever has such a calamity, which I hope never will be the case.
Israel has also pledged its support to Sri Lanka following a natural disaster.
We reminded ourselves of the good relations between the people of Sri Lanka and the people of Israel, of the people of Israel to the people of Sri Lanka. We came with a message of friendship, a message in words and in deeds. And we did bring providing the government of Sri Lanka with some emergency supplies and equipment that would benefit the affected people.
Australia's Minister for Foreign Affairs, Julie Bishop, announced that the Australian government will provide $500,000 to meet urgent needs identified by the Sri Lankan government. The Chinese government announced to donate emergency humanitarian disaster relief goods worth about $2.2 million to Sri Lankan people who were affected by floods and landslides. 3 Chinese ships carrying relief goods for victims of the floods and landslides will arrive in Sri Lanka on Thursday. Japanese Ambassador Kenichi Sugunuma said his country would provide drinking water filters and power generators to the affected areas as soon as possible. A special relief team from Japan will also arrive here.
A request made by Newsfirst seeking information on the educational qualifications of MPs under the Right to Information Act has been rejected.
Neil Iddawala, the Chief of Staff and Deputy Secretary General of Parliament, has responded to the request made by Newsfirst. The reply states that they rejected our request for information as it is exempted information covered by Section 5A of the Right to Information Act No. 12 of 2016. Section 5A, which deals with denial of access to information, states that if, quote, the information relates to personal information, the disclosure of which has no relationship to any public activity or interest, or which would cause unwarranted invasion of the privacy of the individual unless the larger public interest justifies the disclosure of such information or the person concerned has consented in writing to such disclosure. End quote. He notes that we can submit an appeal under Section 31(1) or Section 25(7) of the Act within 14 days. Do these public representatives have anything to hide? We need to know the knowledge capacity of the public representatives and MPs that we elect. As citizens of this country, we have agreed to look into the education qualifications of the MPs, taking into account the decisions they took in the past and their conduct. Today, that request has been rejected. Why are they rejecting the request made for their educational qualifications? What do they have to hide? It is clear to us that they are attempting to conceal their airhead nature. They are airheads. Though they stand before the people as strong persons, they are of no substance.
Leader of the National Unity Alliance, Azad Saleh, commented on the statement made by the Minister of Foreign Affairs to a newspaper yesterday.
Speaking to a daily newspaper, Minister Ravi Karunanayake stated that an individual who entered Parliament through the national list does not have any feelings for the people or the country. The minister had also stated that he would reveal their true colours to the entire country. Karunanayake stated that this individual who shows that the world that he safeguards, the Prime Minister, continue to work on national projects is an issue. Who is the minister that the foreign minister speaks of? I said clearly that it was Malik Samarvikrama who was destroying the United National Party. Now Ravi Karunanayake is telling a newspaper that a nationalist MP is working to destroy the party. Who orchestrated the swap between Ravi and Mangala? It wasn't the president or the SLFP ministers. It was Malik Samarvikrama. Malik was unable to get money the way he wanted and handle the finance ministry the way he wanted with Ravi at the helm. He wanted to find a suitable person. He knew that this was the best change. I did not see his comment, so I cannot comment on it. I also began from the national list. At times people think it's okay, but then I was elected. I do not know about this issue. There is no crisis within the party. There are always clashes in ideologies. This is there in all parties.
The foundation stone for the 107th model village under the Samata 7 housing program was placed in Veeruvela, Kisamaharama today.
The model village has been named Sama Vijayagama. 32 houses will be constructed in this model village. The government faces a major challenge, that is to rebuild the houses destroyed and uplift the lives of the people. As a government, we are now more focused on uplifting the lives of the people. The Ministry of Housing and Construction has a major challenge to rebuild the houses that were destroyed and return them back to the people. The affected people hope for immediate relief, and that is justifiable. At a time when they face broken dreams, I am pleased to announce that the government is even more committed to build their livelihoods.
Finally, some sports news. Retired Major General Palita Fernando was elected as the new president of the Athletics Association of Sri Lanka for the next 4 years. This will be the third time that he serves as a president of the Athletics Association of Sri Lanka.
The election of new office bearers for the Athletics Association of Sri Lanka took place at the auditorium of the National Library. Retired Major General Palita Fernando, former Athletics Association President Sugat Tilakaratne and GLS Pereira had submitted their nominations to contest for the top post. In an astounding turn of events, GLS Pereira withdrew his nomination before voting commenced. 25 district associations and 14 sports clubs were given the opportunity to cast their votes.
And with that, we wrap our primetime news. For the News First team, I'm Sandro Ferdinando.
And I'm Azra Hassan. Take care and good night.